for tell me if they can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, that's great. So my name is Tolandovi. I'm from Unpublished Africa, and welcome everyone to week 4 of the Creative Business Studio. So today we have Taku Nakwaenda, who is going to be our speaker for today. He is a Zimbabwean AI and software developer who's passionate about building human-centered technologies. With over 7 years of experience in Zimbabwe's startup ecosystem, he has led innovative projects like the AI Smart Bench by Paltech and supported young founders through entrepreneurial and STEM-focused initiatives. He's also a graduate of NUST, and he is committed to using AI to drive inclusive innovation across Africa. Thank you so much for joining us today, Taku, and giving us a lesson on AI technology, AI software development in the creative space.
Thank you so much, Toela. I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to live up to that, but that's mostly what I'm trying to do. Thank you so much.
And before we really get the ball rolling, just a friendly reminder that if you do have any questions for Taku, please raise your hand on this Zoom meeting. There is a raise hand icon, as well as you can leave a question for him in the chat box. And I'm very sure that Taku will answer any question you have. Taku, please take it away. Taku, you are mute. Sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Thank you so much for that, Toela. So before I, go in to share my presentation, I just want us to have a conversation, right? I just want us to see if we can have a conversation before I go into it. I'll go into my presentation, but I think more than anything, you guys, you know me, right? I don't know, the bio seems like something different, but we've been together since the beginning of the cohort. You've known me, we integrate. So I'm hoping to do, because I do have a presentation, but I kind of want to get the sense of, what your thoughts are on the matter, where you're coming from. And then I'll go into my talk, right? Maybe I won't need to, but I think it's important because I work in AI from a very technical perspective, but I'm also a lover of building systems and processes that embed themselves naturally into the fabric of our existence, right? Without necessarily breaking that. So what that looks like, I think, Toriela mentioned in the bio that we worked on a smart bench. So what a smart bench is, if you get a chance, you can look at it. It's trying to imagine intelligent spaces that we exist in as Africans without necessarily trading off, the places that we exist in. So, so that's what I'm trying to get a sense from you guys. So I think the first question is what we're going to be, what are your thoughts on the matter? So today the topic is AI in business, right? And I'm trying to understand if you guys have any thoughts on the matter. And you can think about it, how we can harness it for, for growth and efficiency. Am I not able, or is that something else is going on?
Sorry, Taku, please repeat your question.
So I'm trying to get what are your thoughts on the matter from what the room is feeling in terms of AI, in terms of what they hope to gain from today's conversation. Because what I'm trying to do is, in as much as I have a presentation, I want us to have a conversation. Because remember, guys, for me, unlike everyone else who's been coming to talk to you guys, I'm with you in this cohort, right? From the start, we've had a mixer. I want us to be, it's been a while since I had Erika's voice. It's been a while since I had Bondu's voice or Edith. And, you guys are here. I want to hear what you say before I go into it.
I suppose I'll kick us off. For me, it's when to actually introduce AI into your creative business processes. Because there always people talking about how you can lose out on your ability to be as creative quicker, or that you risk losing some of your skills from continuously using AI in your business. So when to introduce it, I think, is a big kind of question.
Okay. So when to introduce it, that's great. Anyone else? Okay. So one of the reasons why I ask, and I really want you guys to let it be a discussion, because I have a single weakness, right? This is a topic that I'm heavily interested in. I might go off on a tangent and start thinking about things that are irrelevant to what you guys want. That's why I wanted to get a sense of, what the room is feeling. So I might go on a tangent. If I do, please feel free to say, hey, that's kind of cool, but we don't care, right? I'll take that, because I'll go off on a tangent. And also so the topic is harnessing AI for you guys, right? Because the one thing that AI will do for us is growth and efficiency, right? That's what it has. That's what it has capacity to do. That's what it has capacity to do. Bonti, you ask, AI is the future. How deep do we need to know about it? Okay, that's a great question. How open and how much of personal information should one share with the AI system? Okay. Okay, this is great. I think some of these will be addressed. The others will address at the end. So you keep them coming. And then I might be able to address some of these as I go with the slides. These are great questions. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Bontu. Thank you, guys. Okay, so confirm if you can see my slide. If not, there will be something going on.
We can.
Okay, there you go. All right. So yeah, so from the get-go, right? What I want to get out of the way, this talk is not going to, the two things that we will not talk about. We will not talk about, this talk will not address we'll try not to address AI existentialism, right? Is AI going to kill us all, right? Or is AI going to replace our jobs? For the simple reason that we want to look at it as a tool that we can augment and help us further, right? That we can augment and grow us in a certain direction, right? And grow us, improve our lives efficiently and cheaply, right? So the one thing that AI can help, so let me start out from the basics of what AI is. I want you to imagine AI as 500 people that will do something efficiently with the same access to the same data, right? So what that does, it helps to, you then can have it. So one of the challenges that you have when you are, let me switch off my camera. One of the challenges that you have when you're starting out is you don't have the capacity to act as a team, and you have a lot of things that are weighing down on you, right? So the first thing that you have, one of the first challenges that you have, how do you reach your client outreach, right? How do you do it consistently and in a personal manner? So I'm pretty sure, most of you guys understand what CRM is, right? And why it's important. So you already had tools that are there that you had. So now you want to use tools that can autonomously do this for you. So I understand from the bios, from what you shared in the previous conversations, one of the things that you shared was you guys have, I think it was Bonikos said, no, I run a studio, right? I run a studio. Now you want to see if I have a studio and I'm setting up and I'm bootstrapped. I don't have anyone who's going to be making this follow-up calls. I don't have anyone who can then do my CRM for me, right? But then this is a very important aspect of a business, right? So now you will now want to look at tools like Calendly, right, that are powered by AI, because when you So one of the things that will come out in this talk is take yourself, and maybe this is a no-brainer, but separate yourselves. When we talk about AI, try as much as you can to disengage from the large language models, right? They are great, but that's not the AI that we're talking about. It's great for brainstorming, it's great for thinking, but we're talking about the AI that can help you in your business. We're talking about the AI that comes with context of what you're working in. So, well, you want a tool that's then defined for that. But then you want to be smart about it, right? You want to be smart about it. Say, what am I going to use this for? So you have the one that's going to work for you for your client outreach, right? It has a call center, right? So I think you can look up this one called I'm19.com. It has a crazy name. But what it does, it helps you do calls for you, right? Engage with clients. And then it also helps to save money on things that you're working on, right? So that's the kind of tool that you want to use, right? You want to avoid feeling that AI is an enemy. You want to look at it from what point you are augmented, right? You want to augment it from a position of, I needed to hire someone to come and do this job for me, right? I needed someone to pay a consultant to do this for me, to do my client engagements. Now all I need is a bit of AI and I go, right? And, so social media content generation. For this one, you don't necessarily need it, you guys, because I think for you guys are extremely visual, but I think maybe you do, because actually you actually would kill, because for some pictures, I know you guys love your authenticity, right? You love how you are able to put out an authentic message. You love how you can always have like the picture that shows a feeling. But sometimes maybe if you want to then create a narrative around the pictures that you have. So I think there's going to be a session on portfolio, right? Working your portfolio. One of the things that can be hard, especially if you're not someone who's extremely literary, is I think someone also asked this question in the session before, and they were asking about the caption. What caption am I coming up with, right? Now, this is a tool that you can now utilize, but then you want to be strategic, because remember, it's trained on a huge data set, right? But then there are a lot of things that are still going to be monotonous, right? It's going to have a lot of things that are going to keep sounding the same. And if you're not smart about it, people can pick that up, right? Your target audience can pick that up. The AI, the other AIs that are looking at it can pick each other up. Oh no, that's an AI bot, right? So but then you can then use that. You go into that, you help it say, okay, no, I'm trying to tell the narrative. Does it hit? Right? Does the narrative that I'm trying to put across, does it hit? Right? Does it hit? And then it also makes it easy to then, so that's also another thing, right? So you have, I look up Higgs AI, right? So with Higgs AI, what they did, they're trying to use, you can use like the images that you have, and these images are like, these are brilliant images that you guys take. But now you already have them, but you're now trying to pitch to a different client. So all your life, you've been taking pictures of, let's say, animals, or even wedding photographers. But now you're trying to go into a field where you take, landscape pictures, or you take portrait. But that's what the client wants, right? But you have all these pictures. Now you can then use it, right? Call amongst all the pictures, because of course, in as much as that wasn't your centric, right? You then use it to say, no, I want to then reorder my pictures. Which ones? Because part of you being a photographer who's in a certain place, right? Now, especially it's all narrative, right? It's all narrative. You say, no, this was, I think one of the questions, remember, there was a question that was addressed a time ago, and we had a discussion on it. And they said, what's the difference between street photography and the documentary photography? And what you quickly see from that is that one is a subset of the other. But then also, the moment you start seeing something as a subset of another, the difference, the major differentiating factor is the narrative. What's the narrative saying? And in that case, the narrative was saying, no, this was a moment in time, and this one is like, these pictures, they'll tell you the story of this, right? That's documentary, right? That's documentary photography. So now you can then be doing these client-centric campaigns, right? You're able to craft this, make it personal to the people that you have, right? To say, okay, no, listen, there are these random pictures that I have that I took on a photo. They're on the left. Sorry, I'm reading a question. Sorry, I saw a question pop up and I also then got to start reading it. Yeah, great. That's a great question. So let me address it after I'm done with this. And then yeah, as you guys know what search engine optimization is. You guys are probably working on digital profiles. We had a segment on digital tools that you use, right? And part of what they went into is search engine optimization. But you also want to, so this is something key. I think I should have write it as clear. So in the old web, in the old internet, you used to have a file that you'd add at the root of your website. Now you need another one that's called robot.txt or llm.txt. What it does is simple, right? Because if you're looking at my slide right now, you and I are visual creatures, right? AI is not. AI works on token, AI works on text, right? So you want to then load the LLM text, the llm.txt, and if you're going to have someone who's going to be developing your website for you, or even if you're the one doing it, you want to load it with it. Because the way Google works now, the way Perplexity works, the way ChatGPT works, right? The way they work by going into your website and looking at the text. But then if you have that single file where you put everything about your business, you put it in text format, right? And then you can style it using maybe stars, and you can go online and look up these things, stars and hashes, or you can just say, I want to know how to create a markdown file. It's simple. It's just as if you're writing a simple text file and you don't need anything special. And you put it at, let's say, if I say at the root, you guys understand what I mean by root, right? At the best of inside your website. No one will be able to visit it, because if people visit, they'll see a bunch of text and be like, what's wrong with this website? But the way people are searching for things, right? There are people, so we have major search engines, right? The first search engine that you have, if you are looking at people younger than 30, is going to be TikTok or Instagram, right? But then when people are trying to get information to say, has there been any work in maybe they're using ChatGPT and they want to get sources, they're using Perplexity and they're using Google. They want to say, no, I want to hire a documentary photographer. Which documentary photographers? Now you have gone in and you've done your work and you highlighted in that, and they're able to your work is going to be pop up first. It's going to be one of the first results that pops up. So now you're boosting SEO with AI. So now this is what an indirect influence of AI on your life without you using it. Well, you are using it, but like without making it work for you, right? But without necessarily using it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's where I'm going with that. Yeah. So I mean, these are some of the things I think you guys probably have might be going on in circles right now, but like, you then have, so yes, what you want to do also, right? You want to leverage, if you're in photography, your finances might not be great. You might not be great in finances. I know for certainly I'm not, and I hate them, but not necessarily the bookkeeping aspects, right? That's you might have figured out. The part that I'm talking about is the projections, right? Understanding what your cash flows mean, understanding where you are lacking, and asking it to say, given what's been happening in your life, and you guys, know this, right? Even if you haven't been recording, but we had a bookkeeping session, but even if you haven't been recording, you can go back and say, this is a rough sketch of what my finances has been looking. So you want to look at tools like Ramp AI, right? So Ramp is just simple. Like you go in and then tell it, no, can you I mean, you can use ChatGPT for this, but the problem with ChatGPT and these other ones, they're not fine-tuned. So, okay, let me just explain some of the terms I'll be using as we go. So what you have is you're going to have an excellent model, but it's a master of all things, right? But then it's not an expert in a field, right? It knows a lot. It's not necessarily, and it loses the context of what you're having. Its brain is not tuned to that specific issue. So you now want to go and try to use those ones that are tuned to that and know what it is that you need. Because of course, there's a lot of AI snake oil salesmen that are there. Those people are just out here trying to steal your money. It happens. It's expected. But now you want to ramp AI, ramp, that's the word. So you want to use it for your financial projections. What's my finances doing? I'll send the link in the group, sorry. What are my financial projections? Where have I been lacking? What's most likely to be the thing that's, getting me down? Because those are things, and these are gaps that will bring your portfolio, like your pitfall, right? So you could be an amazing, I mean, okay, the things are probably covered, and you need an accountant, right? Because bookkeeping by itself is great, and being able to understand those numbers also to some extent takes a certain financial intellect that you might not necessarily have, right? And being able to project it that far in the future, especially if you maybe even if you're thinking of so there are certain procedures that you think maybe if you're going to a bank to get a loan, the bank will do, right? An insurance company will do, right? But those same services, if you use them internally outside of what you do as your major photography, right? As your major work, it will pay dividends, right? This thing that I'm saying, right? Okay, do I need to buy the lens that I'm buying? Okay, if I'm buying it, will I be able to recover it in the next will I get return on investment in the next 3 years? And then sometimes you will lie to yourself, yes, I will. And then this is something that will put you now in your coffin and you never go back into business again because you decided to buy an overpriced lens, right? Yeah. And then some of these things, I think so. This works to the question that you're asking on. So let me try to rush past this so that I go and I try to then answer the question that you're asking before I. So okay, so one thing that I want us to be careful about. So it seems it's this big shiny thing, right? But it's not a silver bullet. So I want us to be aware of pitfalls, right? So you want it. So I think there was a question. There was a question by. Let me go into right. Okay, so I think I'm going to try to answer these questions depending on what's going on. So Gift's question, right? So Gift asks, as creators, should we become more comfortable to use AI to edit our work, which is more easy and time efficient, and spend time doing the work with just the app as that? So my simple answer is yes and no, right? So if you're in a space, because remember, in a space like photography, the first question that you want to ask yourself is how much control am I giving it? And is this something that seems to be easy for someone to replicate or easy to automate, right? Though if the answer to that is yes, then by all means do it, right? So that looks like, so remember, that's why I'm talking about the things that I talked about, things about, CRM, optimizing SEO. This is something that is constantly always going to be the same thing, right? But when it comes to then your editing, there are things like maybe assuming things like culling. I think that's one of the things that you do. There's something that's repetitive and it's autonomous, and the parameters for doing that will never change, right? Right? It's either maybe and feel free to correct me. This is not a field that I know much of, but I know you call a picture depending on the quality, and and you can then set up those parameters if the tool allows you to do that, right? Of course, be like micromanage it. Micromanage it. Do not give it a very short leash, right? Because the problem is that when you give it a long leash, it will do a lot of things because you keep going on a tangent and it gets into, there's this term called RIL. So it would then start feeding itself on the RIL. So you want to be the one who's doing the RIL. So what it looks like is, imagine you're training a dog, right? That's what RIL looks like. So you're training a dog. For every good deed that it does, you tell it, good boy, good dog, right? And you want to keep doing that, especially if you are, let's say, in a paid package or whichever, right? Constantly, if it does something that's off, tell it. So you use it, but you give it a short leash, right? So that you quickly hold it in the bud. Because what it does, the people will then write these softwares, right? They want to influence you as much as they can, not influence you from a malice point of view, but to entice you. Like, ChatGPT is charming. Like, you talk to ChatGPT, you give it a voice, right? In the smart base that I was telling you that we made, right? People go there and they get a therapy session from talking to a bench, right? Because it's enticing, it's charming, right? It's charming. And the other thing that you want to do, Gift, on your question, you also want to the what that you're doing, and also the how, who is responsible, what's happening at the back, right? What's happening at the back. So this then goes into answer Bontu's question, right? You always kind of need to have an understanding of not necessarily all the technical details, but an understanding of what it means when they say this one is fine-tuned, this one is trained, this one is a reasoning model, this one is regging, right? This one runs on a reg, what it means. Because that then gives you a sort of, so that when you then query to say, this tool that I'm using, should I trust it that far? Or should I just let this tool do this 1, 2 thing, right? So the one thing that, remember, I think there was a time, or maybe it might be a Zimbabwean thing, but there was a time once back when people used to think Google is the answer. And what it used to look like, people would say, you'd be in an argument and someone would say, oh, Ronaldo is the best football player in the world. He scored so many goals. And the other guy is like, no, Messi is the best football player. And they're like, no, ask Google. And what would they do? People would go on Google and then type in, how many scores, did Ronaldo score the hat-trick in this game? And Google will give you the web. People would then, because at the time Google was not big on the the one box, which is the one that you see now. Just give you the simple answer. It will give you a website that will pop up. The website is one that optimized for search engine, and they paid for some ads in some corner there, and you get the answer. That doesn't necessarily mean that the answer was correct, right? It's just the first result that you saw. It's just a result that Google went to. It's the one that was played around with to figure out what Google will want, in order to be the first one out there. So that's the same thing with AI. These websites that were out there giving out false information or not giving information that's not credible, that's still real. Same applies to the tools that you then use. The tool is people, they will claim that our tool will do this. That time it only works 60% out of the time. So you want to be cognizant of that, right? You want to be cognizant of that. So yeah, I think so. I hope Ubuntu that answers the question. If it doesn't, you can keep going. You can ask further, and I'll address it when the time comes. But yeah, I mean, this question say, relying heavily on AI tools. So yeah, that's real, right? If you're going to be taking pictures, if you're going to be understanding if that whole culling thing, right? You want to be able to set the parameters to say, how do I cull? If I'm because there's certain things that may, depending on your culture, because that's one of the major challenges that you have, right? A lot of these AI models, a lot of these models are not trained on data that's closer to the African context, right? That's closer to us. So what you're going to find is if you then ask it to call pictures, it's going to call based on a context that's cool for someone else, right? If you, let's say you do a documentary on, the Reed Festival in Eswati, it might see that and be like, oh no, this person here is naked or whatnot. I should not do that. But like to you, you're saying, no, 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 no. That person, sure, they're naked, but that's part of the culture that we're pushing, right? So, yeah, so you want then find a balance. Find a balance, learn the tool, give yourself time to learn as much tools as possible. And the unfortunate thing, and I think this also goes back to you, Bontu. The unfortunate thing is AI has done two things, right? AI is a great equalizer, but it also has, in the same way that it has made you efficient, it's also making the people make them efficient. So what it then looks like is you learned how to use Microsoft Word when you got the chance to do it. And those skills have been necessary and they've been okay up until now. Now, if you learn to use, and the tool didn't have to change, didn't change at all. I mean, if it changed, they updated, but it's still the same thing, right? If someone who learned to use it 10 years ago and they updated, today, if you go back into it, you're going to be able to type your word the same way it used to work. One. But then with AI, it's still an infant, like a very immature field. It's still like the technology that you're getting is still at its infant's level, and also the changes that are happening are so quick. So the tool that you're using might be good, but you might need to learn to use another one. Of course, man, the UI and the UX make it so that it's seamless for you to go around them and learn them. So you want to think about that. You want to think about that. And also one thing to look out for on the over reliance, and I don't know how to express this, maybe because I'm a fanatic of the space, is the current pricing models of AI, like the business model that exists, like you being able to use ChatGPT for $20, you being able to use ChatGPT for $200. And you probably have if you follow any of these news, you probably had the CEO of OpenAI saying it costs running ChatGPT is costing me money. He was half joking, but that's half true, because at some point, because right now these things are cheap because they're all competing on price and they're trying to find a winner. At some point, they're gonna have to price you appropriately, simply because the way there's this thing that they call inference, the way that it works is extremely expensive. And it's so expensive that one person can cost as much as if 20 people were using it. And now imagine if those 20 people are using it as this one person, which is more likely to happen to, because why? We are greedy and we want the best we can get, even if it's not necessarily that we need it, but that's how we are as people. So yeah, probably have touched on some of these things. I think I keep rambling. So, you can tell me if I need to come back to a slide. And also if I'm rushing through things. So this is by how you want to look at these things, right? Over time, right? What gains are there? What business practice can come from this? And one thing that I think you also want to use, let me go to the question. Look at the question that. Okay. The question I think also probably addresses Bontu's question, right? You want to what AI would do, and this is borderline on the things that I'm not supposed to be talking about, because I'll go on around. What AI is going to do is going to eliminate all the jobs that we used to know, but it's also going to introduce new jobs. So you learning and keeping in step, with the tools that you use. Because I can give you an example. There was a time when companies had to hire a typewriter. There was a time when they needed someone to write the minutes, right? The person who used to do typewriting, right? If they didn't learn a new skill, or not even that, right? People who were people used to be secretaries back then. Their job was to take notes and write shorthand, right? They got overtaken, right? So now everything gets overtaken. But if they didn't choose to learn a new skill as the computer was being introduced, they got overtaken. So what you then do, you can avoid crying foul and thinking, oh, doom, doom, doom. In the same way, when if you're a photographer, pre-2008, you're a photographer, right? You're taking pictures. You had those what you call a Kodak film, and you had to go and develop it and do all those things. The same way you didn't complain about digital photography is the same way that you have to appreciate it. And you can also look at it from this perspective, right? Digital photography gave people it lowered the bar of being able to do photography. I can walk in and buy a camera. It doesn't make me good at it, but at least I can get started, right? You now I can go online and I can type in a simple prompt and I'm like, oh no, generate me a picture of a black person, and it shows me, a picture of a black person, and it's what it does is then brings down the bar. But then you then have to learn, okay, when this bar came, what else came with it, right? It doesn't come by itself, right? It's making it easier for people. What then came with it? Okay, well, how do I augment it? So you then augment yourself and you make yourself better. So you use it. The thing that's supposed to destroy you, you use it to take it to make you, be powerful. There were people during the before we got digital photography. I hope I'm saying it right, but people used to go and develop these things, right? There were people who had houses that were responsible for doing these things. If they did not adapt or augment themselves to say, okay, no, now I'm getting, because I think the first step was probably them getting a printer and saying, you take a picture, you get the picture immediately, right? That was the first. They went into that because because the spaces that you're going to be operating in, you are still going to be the experts in those spaces. It's just the tools are now slightly bit different. The person who used to know how to develop pictures is still the same person who has better insight on how to print a picture, right? On, when in terms of if you're printing pictures, what's it about, right? And if you're taking a picture, what are the things that make sense? Because the concept, the context of the old media becomes bedridden inside the new media. So that's how, everything moves, right? Yeah. And I've talked about data-driven insights when I talked about your financials, sustainable business practice, and these are some of the if you then look up this is just an infographic to help you understand where we are and what's possible, right? So this is what can happen to you, and the pitfalls, right? It's just 15.3. So what that tells you, it's the reward is bigger than the risk. Just be mindful, just be cautious, and know when you're using it. You don't necessarily have to start using it for the main picture that you want, but like in other spaces where you do it, like, let me try, right? Yeah. Let me go. What's the other question? Let me go to the other question. I made this slide. I was not anticipating that I was asking questions there, so I included this in. You're welcome, Bontu. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm afraid to pronounce your name. You asked how open and how much of personal information should one share with AI system? So it depends, right? What are you afraid of? I'm, and this is true for a lot of things. This is true for a lot of things. You certainly should not share information about your client. Should you share personal information? That's on you, right? Depends. We all learned. Sam Altman said, as because this information exists, and at some point someone can use it against you, right? But then it depends. What are you searching for? Maybe it's because the average person is just searching for things that make sense. But also, if you have things that you don't want people finding about, then don't. But if you're worried about, because I think when we were kids, we had diaries. If you're worried about that, I don't know. I don't think it's as big. And this is just my opinion. It's not, this is open to discussion, right? it's and you guys can tell me, you can pitch in and you can tell me what you guys think. But I think personal information depends, right? What are you afraid of? What are you sharing, right? I personally, if I could model out a Jarvis that knows me, because the more it knows you, the more context that it has about you, depending on what you're working with, the more context it has about you, the better it can relate to you, the better it can talk to you, the better it can engage with you. So that's where I draw the line. So it's also, yeah, but then avoid sharing, of course, right? Avoid sharing your clients. I mean, if you're going, also that's a question to ask, right? And it's a good one, right? To say, if you're going to be as gift to us, if you're going to be working with a tool that edits, does it, what do you call this? Does it retain the pictures that I'm using? First question. Are they going to be using these pictures to train their data? And they will pay for that, right? I need to be notified, because you need to be notified. Your clients need to be notified. Everyone does like an entire look of proof. So, if it's work-wise, don't do it. Unless if you are in a professional setup where, the company pays for the enterprise system and they know what's happening, and it's not your call. But for the most part, avoid sharing your clients' information. Avoid, if anything, just use it to abstract information around them, to say, okay, no, I have a client who's doing so and so, and this, be very smart about it. Yeah. I don't know if I addressed all the questions, but I'm hoping there's. Oh yeah, no. Before I go to any other question, what do you guys think on sharing your personal information? You had my opinions on the matter. Wait, was I on mute?
No, you were not on mute, but I'm going to share my thoughts on that. I would not want to share my personal information. I believe just in sharing your professional information, because in this day and age, there are stalkers, and it's not safe to divulge your personal information. Your personal information on the cyberspace.
Okay. No, but then it's not in the cyberspace in general. The question was on sharing your personal information with, AI.
No, I still wouldn't.
No, that's a great answer. That's a great answer. I just wanted that. No, that's a great answer. Yeah, so I mean, if no one else has opinions on the matter, but I'm opening the floor up to just have a conversation, and we I don't understand. You said clear leadership. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. You said clear leadership in the chat. Well, is that a question? Is that what are you commenting on? But yeah, as they gather their thoughts. So, but then that's that's pretty much the question, right? Well, and which is why I was asking, like, is there anything else that you guys would want to then talk about? Because my major, what you want from it is for it to automate. Don't use it to think for you. Use it to automate things that can be automated, because its strength lies in massive data. Yeah, Valerie says she likes it as an 8, which is great, right? Which speaks to what Gifted asked. So the key thing, right, is and this is my rule of thumb: use it for things that can be automated, right? Use it for things that benefit from massive data analysis, right? So because the human mind is biased, you're biased towards, let's say you say you want to buy a new camera, you're biased towards a certain brand because marketing has made you to think like that. But then you use things that then benefit from data, right? So use it for things that benefit from like massive data analysis. But on things that are very kind of creative, right? and you guys would know this, but you have to step in. And it's not to say you can do it, but like your insight will always be far superior than that. Because that's not something that you can, collect data for. So yeah, I mean, if there are no questions or if no one else wants to engage, I might be bringing my time back to you, Toela. Yeah, but I'm here. I'm here all week actually. I mean, I'm here until the end of the session though. So let's have let's have yeah, it can be used to automate messages on WhatsApp. So the question that Valerie that is asking, I try to avoid. That's one of the questions that I said I'm not going to talk about this. It's for the same reason that we can be all night. It's a very philosophical thing, and I think we want to be to talk about things that are practical. I like this topic a lot. I'm not shutting it down for that, but for any other reason besides that, we take up people's time and we keep going, and whatever I'll say is really just my opinion. And on that matter, so I won't speak on it. But will it eventually? It's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. Is it on a creative level? Because that's the same thing. It will, right? But then the next question that you ask is how, right? It's not a switch. It's not. We're not going to wake up tomorrow and the AI is not being able to take, generate pictures that are way better. Like, give us pictures that are better than what a human can do. It's not a switch, right? It's going to take a lot of things, right? It's going to take you using some tools, right? It's everything that happened with everything that has been replaced, right? We didn't replace developing pictures on film overnight. The people who were doing that are still the same people who then went on and don't. Okay, sorry. I'm saying another question. Sorry. So yeah, it's not going to happen overnight. As it happens, the key thing that you want to do, you want to stay in step. You want to be augmenting yourself. The question is true for everything. Are you keeping yourself equipped? So with what's happening. So a good example is we all use social media. Right? We all use social media to advertise our works. Prior to social media, traditional media had us by the chocolate, right? They had us. We could. There's nothing else you could do. You and I are you could be entry level photographers, but to advertise, the budget that whatever media company needed was crazy, and that's for like maybe a 5-second ad on radio, right? For something for a media that even doesn't speak well to you. Social media came through, overtook these guys. The smarter ones, as social media was taking over, they were learning to integrate themselves with it, right? They were learning to utilize those platforms. That's the same thing with you. And of course, like it's a human issue. It's the same thing. It's going to take over for the same reason that Bontu then asked, right? To say, because it's cheaper and because it's good enough. It's not the best, it's cheap and good enough, right? And a decent product, and that's efficient because, it's a lot of work for you. You take a picture, you have to edit it. There's a lot of work and it's going to take a lot of time. And you guys know that your clients want the picture, right? So it sources us for that. So of course, it's going to, but then don't be offended. Don't be offended. I mean, it's sad, yeah, but let's change, right? We haven't stopped changing since day one. It's just a few. The problem is that AI is just taking up what everyone else was doing. Like it's just coming for every field. Augment yourself. Augment yourself because what's worse is what the future is going to look like. The future is going to look vastly different from everything that we've known before. So we judge. So it's like what jobs look like. I mean, and I want you guys, when you think about those things, look at what the industrial revolution looked like. the Industrial Revolution did what it had to. There were jobs that didn't exist past that time, and there were jobs that were like the real bread and butter issues, like the real bread and butter jobs. The Industrial Revolution happened. Those jobs merged into something else. And those jobs merged into something. Those who went in augmented themselves, those who went in and kept, like those who stayed, and it wasn't happening overnight. They didn't like, oh no, it's done. Now I have to know how to type. No, they were doing it slow by slow. Oh no, there's a new interesting thing that's not happening. Let me go into it, right? Because you're still hungry, still learning. You go into the space, right? And the world after Industrial Revolution looked totally different from what the world looked like before. Same thing with this, right? Prior to social media, it was unheard of that you could be a social media influencer. There was no name for it. There was no name of being a podcast host. There was no name for it because it didn't exist, right? A lot of things and but got created from that. And a lot of jobs died, but some new came in. The only people who survived are those who probably need to learn. So Valeria asks, why should someone choose my work when AI does it cheaper? How do we create viable? Stop creating. Stop. I mean, it's a simple answer, right? You suffer when you compete on price. That's always been, you're always doomed in any field. This is prayer, AI or no AI. If you're in business and you're competing on price, you're doomed, right? You want to compete on value. And you ask, how do we create viable economic ecosystems in the creative sector when we can employ AI? The creative sectors have to allow themselves to be revolutionized in real time, as they always have been. You guys benefited a lot from social media, right? Someone suffered when that happened. It just wasn't you. And the person who suffered was the one who did not choose to learn and grow. I think that's the question. That's the answer. That's the answer. I think I keep going. This is why I didn't want to answer these questions, because I know you keep I think it's a risk. Can you include work that is AI altering on the photograph? I think it's a risk. I think it's a risk. I personally, I would take it, because if it's able to, because you guys do this, right? Prior to AI, you guys have been using Photoshop to make, if you take my picture, so all of a sudden I don't have pimples on my face, right? All of a sudden I have pimples on my face and you post it, I'm like, that photograph is great, right? What's the difference now? It's still the same tool. It's still it's just another digital tool that you're using. It's not necessarily, not Photoshop. I think Lightroom and those. Sorry, I'm quoting the wrong thing. But I know you guys do this, and I'm not against it. I want to look the best that I can, humanly possible, and use the tools, right? You make, you draw shadows on people's faces, like or you remove shadows that were in there. You do all those things. You're enhancing the picture. Sure, you are doing it by some degree, using your own manual hands, cool. But now you can then utilize AI. It's just an extension of the tool. And if you master that, right, you're getting better, because people are still going to want to say, take a picture of me, take a picture of events, capture all these moments. But you're going to go there and capture the moments, and a lot is going to go wrong, right? But if you then can utilize it, if you have a tool that can right the wrongs, the 25% wrongs, you're great, right? Because it's going to give you that edge. If it gives you the edge, and now you're already augmenting yourself. But because people still want, because I mean, listen, you can look at this. People who are using images generated by AI right now, people are using it maybe to make flyers and stuff. To be fair, I mean, yeah, flyers and stuff, right? And these are the same people who used to go to stock photos to do that. It's the same thing. Was that your bread and butter? Was that what your business model was? If it was, think again, right? Now start thinking around your business model to say, okay, now that there's AI that's doing this, how then do I do this? How then do I generate realistic AI generated images? Because they work with you. Because remember, they still want to train these things. And you still want to have them generate images that are closer to art, because every time you ask it to generate a black person, it just show you an afro. We don't have afros, not all of us at least. But anyway, Yeah, Joella, tell me if I should stop because I think it's 8 now, and we can talk about this for hours. I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me. Sorry. You can take the time back, and we can close the session if that's okay. Okay, I'm just giving it back to you.
Yes, we can close the session. We're actually 1 minute away from 8 o'clock. But yes, thank you so much, Taku, for this very riveting discussion about AI and its impact in our creative space.
No, that's okay. Thank you so much for having me. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we are here. We can always keep the conversation going in the group. I think that's part of what reason why we have the group chat. We have to be discussing these issues, right? And it's not just this one. Everything else that we're doing here, we are a community, right? Let's keep it going. This happens to be the field that I have some some level of expertise on. It's not even much, but I have massive interest in. So we can keep the conversation going at any time. Let's discuss, right? The jury is still out for most of these things.
Definitely. So thank you so much for your presentation. And as Taku has said, if anyone has any more questions, please leave the questions on the WhatsApp group, and I'm very sure Taku will answer those questions. Otherwise, this is the end of today's session. But please don't forget that tomorrow's session with Clinton, who's going to be talking about creating for impact. That, I believe, was the Tuesday session, and we rescheduled it to Thursday. So that is a conversation that you definitely do not want to miss out on. Otherwise, this is the end of today's session. We are still in week 4, and have a good night, everyone, and see you tomorrow.